wherever you're joining us from, welcome to another episode of Log Cabin Gaming, and we're going to do a tutorial today by the semi-competent painter, i.e. me. And now here we have my box of shame, and this is where I have many unpainted minis, predominantly from the Shadespire Warhammer Underworld set. So we're going to have a look at getting some of these painted up. We're going to do the Fyreslayers warband and the Sepulchral Guard warband, and we're going to try it with Games Workshop's new contrast paint to see if we can do them any quicker. So step one, what we're going to do is we're going to spray undercoat these, and for this we need some double-sided tape and some kind of paint paddle, and this is what I use. It's a lovely day outside today, so without further ado, let's get these guys stuck on and we'll see you outside. So outside, as you can see, I've stuck all the miniatures onto this wooden paddleboard that I'm using with just a bit of double-sided tape. We're outside, so safety tip kids, always use aerosols outside and they're in a confined space. We've been shaking this for a couple of minutes now, so all we're going to do is just we're going to undercoat the models in a nice and even motion. Tip about the paddleboard is you could turn it around without having to touch any of the models. From the top. Hard to tell whether the Sepulchral Guard have been covered because they're already a bone colour. Okay, you want to take your time with this. You see it's taken me quite some time because if you have a bad undercoat, anything you paint on top will be bad as well, so it's good to spend a bit of time just making sure you got nice even coverage. Alright, that looks pretty good, quite happy with that, so we're going to leave that there. Can says 15 minutes to dry, so we're going to go and have a cup of tea and then we'll be right back. Hello guys, and welcome back. As you can see, our Fyreslayers have now been undercoated, and actually they look pretty good. They look very tasty actually, kind of a bit like a Milky Bar slash Kinder Surprise kind of chocolate colour, so they look very good, nice and smooth. I was a bit worried because it was quite windy outside, and as you saw, it looked very dusty, but no, the effect is lovely, so we can't complain about that. So this is the first time we are trying the contrast paints. So what I've got here is Fyreslayer Flesh, and what I have done is I have shaken this for about 3 minutes now, just to get the pigment in there nicely mixed. Okay, so your guess is as good as mine about how it's going to come out, but if we open it, this is a fresh pot. Oh yeah, you get that nice seal crack, don't you? So they say you just take it directly from the pot. So we will do that, take it directly from the pot, and we will apply this to the skin parts. And you can see it's starting to pull, so all we want to do is just shift that and just move it around where it does pull. And don't worry if you go over anything, because we can always go over it with a base paint of Wraithbone Flesh before we do any more. Okay, so we're going to do this, we're going to go all over the model, applying this out of the pot, which is very weird to be doing. Because everything we've been told is to apply thin layers and thin your paint down, and then now suddenly everything's the opposite. I'm going to do that and we will be back once we're done. Okay, now that the Fyreslayer Flesh has dried, you can see it's not too bad actually. It's calmed down a bit in terms of its depth of colour. Here, these guys, they're probably a bit darker, but that's not, you know, that's not terribly a bad thing. It's nice to have different variances in skin tone, but you can see where it's pulled a bit, where I wasn't quick enough to move it, but that's not the end of the world. They're looking pretty good for, I guess what it was, 10 minutes work to do these 4 models. Right, so I love dry brushing, so what we're going to do, whilst there's no more colours on them, I'm going to grab some Cadian Fleshtone, shake that, and then I'm going to put a bit, what have I got? I am using a small dry brush, grab a bit, small dry brush, okay, just take some off on my palette, till there isn't much on there. Now we're going to get our guys, and we're just going to lightly just dry brush over them, and that's just going to pick out and accentuate any of the highlighted, the raised areas really, and we don't have to be too neat with this because we've got no other colours at the moment. And this will give it a bit of a variety in the tone to the skin as well as we go down. Okay. So especially where the paint pooled and it became a bit heavier, this will actually lighten it a bit, which is great. Right. So let's give our brush a little dip. Rinse that off. Now we're going to go back to our contrast paints. So what I've got now to do the hair is we've got Gryph-Hound Orange, which I've been shaking off camera. Again, we want a good shake, so I've been shaking this for a couple of minutes. So as before, we're going to open it. Grab some paint on my brush. Again, I've got a medium shade brush. So let's grab Fuel Grimnir, and we're going to start with his hair. And we're just going to slather that on. And this is a lot more vibrant actually than the Fyreslayer Flesh. It actually looks like a paint, whereas the Flesh was a bit more, it was very washy. It was like a wash, whereas this is more like a paint. So, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Okay, and we're back, and this is how the Fyreslayers look now. So what I'm going to do now is the same way what we did with the skin. I'm going to apply a very gentle, quick dry brush of Firedragon Bright across all the hair, just to pick out a few more highlights. Once we've done that, we're going to move on to the weapons, and we'll need 3 colours: Abbadon Black, Leadbelcher and Retributor Armour. The black will be to pick out all the wooden handles and hafts, Leadbelcher for the blades themselves, and Retributor Armour to pick out any of the gold detail and any gold that have been embedded in the Fyreslayer's skin. Okay, so the first colour that we're going to apply is the Drybrush of Firedragon Bright. So I'm just going to take some of the colour and put it onto my tissue paper. There we go. And then just going to gently dry brush all the raised areas. Hopefully you can see it's starting to pick out another set of highlights. which will really add to the miniature. Okay, so our next step is to apply the black. We're going to do this for all the wood on the axe, and actually what I will do is apply it to the metallic bits as well. Then we can hopefully get a better colour when we apply Leadbelcher over it. So for this, what am I going to get? Let's get a medium base brush. Okay, put that on the palette. I'm not going to thin this black down, and this is very surprising because I don't know if it's this pot, but the black is very thin anyway and runny. That's just something I found with using this particular pot of Abbadon Black, so I'm just going to put it on the palette and just apply it. You can see it doesn't go on thickly anyway, so that's not too bad. Okay, so we're back. So you can see the black has dried nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our Leadbelcher, give that a good shake, and then with a medium layer brush, just going to dollop on the palette. Just going to thin this a touch with a drop of water. Take my brush, get it to a fine twist. Yeah. And then I'm just going to paint these silver bits here. So the little details inside the sword I'm going to leave black because I'm going to pick them out with Retributor Armour afterwards. So it doesn't matter if some of the black is showing because that actually gives it, adds to the effect to it. That kind of makes it look a bit battle worn. And there we have it. These are the four guys now with the black and the Leadbelcher applied, and they're looking pretty good. Kind of see there. So yeah, so we've kind of been painting for about an hour now, off and on. So yeah, the next thing to do is to apply the base coat of Retributor Armour, which we have here. I'm going to give this a good shake. So as you can see, it's quite pigmented, it's separated, you can see it's separating from the side. So I'm going to give that a good shake, and we're going to paint all the gold detail next. Okay, so I've shaken the Retributor Armour well. I've got a bit on my brush, and I'm just going to go over all the little details that I want to be gold. If you're not sure which bits you want to be gold, you can always have a look at the box art. Give yourself an indication of what is gold and what's not. These lines here as well. and we're going to get all the little bits of gold on him. Get my brush to a nice point. Okay, and here we are. This is with all the Retributor gold applied, and they're starting to jump out now. What I've also done is I forgot to do the jewellery detail on their beards, so I have coated those with Leadbelcher and just highlighted them, just picked out the detail with Retributor Armour. I've also gone back off camera and reapplied, got a Wraith bone base here, reapplied that to the leather areas, the belts and stuff that we're going to want leather that's been covered with either, you know, a bit of black, Leadbelcher, or some of the Fyreslayer Flesh. So we're ready to apply that cleanly again. Okay, so yeah, next step is to pick out all the leather bits, all the leather trims, the belts. So I think some of them have got gauntlets, or you know, a bit of leather on the straps around their wrists and elbows. So yeah, we will pick that out next, and yes, we'll see you soon. Right, so now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to apply 3 colours. We have got our contrast colour of Snakebite Leather, which we're going to do on the, if I just grab these, on like the leather bits here, the belts going around. We're going to use Khorne Red on the detailing here, so the tassels there, and then on these guys, on their tabards, we're going to get them a nice deep red colour. Okay, and then we're going to revisit our Abbadon Black just for Grimnir, and that's going, his tabard we're going to make black, just because he's special. So yeah, so without further ado, what we will do is let's go with the Snakebite Leather. So yeah, remember to shake this very well, and we can use it straight out of the pot. Okay. So it looks like a very awful rude colour. It looks, but let's just put that on and see how it ends up. And by rude, I mean like diarrhea. It basically looks like diarrhea in a pot. You can see I've left off some of the gold detailing on his belt and that, because I want to do that afterwards. After I've done the leather effects, so we will revisit that with our Retributor Armour once the Snakebite Leather has dried. Now personally I would probably want this a bit darker than what it is now, so I'm just, whilst it's drying, I'm going to add a second coat to try and darken it up, so we get like a nice rich dark leather. Maybe if they did Bulgur leather, that would be the colour I'd want. But again, with these contrast paints, you kind of have to try them out. It's a whole new palette. So it's a new learning curve, and find out what works for you and what doesn't. Let's wash out, and let's go back to our old school. Yeah, let's get some of the Abbadon Black to do some. I'm going to put some on my palette, so no more luxury about the pot. Wash off our brush and grab my favourite Khorne Red. Yes, I've roughly just under 4,000 points of Khorne, so I've gone through quite a few pots of Khorne Red, as you can imagine. Now again, I'm just going to paint over the gold studs, and I'll go back and pick them up once the red is dry. Now, a good thing about these, I think, yep, you can pop them off their bases, so, and then I can get behind here easy, which is a nice treat. So hot today, what's happening is my paint is drying on my palette quicker than I can apply it. I'm constantly having to add more and add more water. I know you can get paint retarders out there. If you know of any, feel free to recommend some in the comments. I tend to use GW paints just because I like to support my local shop. It means I can take, when I kind of take the kids into town on the weekend, I can pop in and kill like half an hour in there and pick up some paints. You know, kids are both less than 2, so they don't really know what's going on, but they know getting out the house is better than not getting out the house, so it's win-win. Mummy gets a rest and we get to go to Games Workshop, so yeah. So here we are, we've got all the guys now with the little detailing done. On Mr. Grimnir himself, what I've done is I have picked out these bits in Leadbelcher instead of red, and then gone over them with the gold. So yeah, I've done the gold off camera. I paint cheated on you guys, I'm really sorry. But yes, I just picked out the details on the tabard in Retributor gold, as you can see. So yes, next thing we're going to do is we are going to get Nuln Oil and shade all the metallic bits. So all the Leadbelcher and gold that we've done on the weapons, we're going to shade in Nuln Oil. And what I might do, you don't have to do this, but I've actually got Fyreslayers Flesh shade as well, and I'm going to use that on the Urgold in the body there, just because it's a bit more fleshy colour. So if it does leak onto the skin, it's actually a bit more natural than the Nuln Oil. But you don't have to. You can even use Agrax Earthshade on any of it. But I'm going to use Nuln Oil on all the metallic stuff except the Urgold. Okay. Right, okay, so I've got my Nuln Oil here. Yes, it's a very old pot that we're coming to the end of, but that's fine. So I'm going to crack that open, get a bit on my brush, using a medium shade brush for this, because we want to be quite liberal on the weapons. So let's get Mr. Grimnir, and you're just going to coat all the weapon in Nuln Oil. Okay, just make sure it doesn't pull. Otherwise it could be pretty ugly. But other than that, you're just getting it into the recesses, and it's going to pick out the detail and make a nice shade. Okay. Okay, so if it pulls, you just want to flick it away. Okay, so the wash has dried, and as you can see, the detailing has come out quite well. It's added that extra layer of depth to the miniatures. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to do just a quick dry brush. We're going to dry brush the helmet and the weapons. So for the helmet, we're going to use Liberator Gold. And for the weapons, I am going to use a Runefang Steel, and this is just going to add a quick highlight, but this is completely optional. You don't have to do it. We can leave it here if you want to, and just go to the base. Okay. Okay, we ran into a bit of a technical hitch in that my Liberator Gold seems to have gone into Liberator Orange. Been shaking it, but it's not coming back. So just to speed things up, I'm going to use this dry paint here called Sigmarite. As you can see, it's a bit, well, it's different. It's like a texture paint. And all we're going to do, you just put it on your dry brush, wipe it as normal. So there's only a little bit on it. And then you just gently wipe it over the raised surfaces. and that should just pick out the uppermost edges. So I don't know if you can see the difference there. It's not been done, it's been done, not been done, done. Okay, so we're just going to do this over the whole model, over the helmet here. And for Grimnir, he's got this dragon's head at the end, or whatever it is. Maybe a magma droth, who knows. Try and pick out any gold bits gently. That's what we're going to do. And then we're going to do the same for the weapon. If I get my Runefang Steel, give that a good shake. To save time, I've got another Drybrush. Do that like that. That sound is me wiping the paint on my tissue paper. Right, so we're going to get him, and we're just going to try and highlight the edges. So you're just going to drag this brush over your edges, and it's going to pick up a quick, cheap and cheerful highlight that we're not going to spend too long on. You might want to do his keys down there. So if we have a look, kind of see it's been picked out very, very quickly. And you know, you could do as much or as little as you want. If you want, you could probably go with here. It doesn't matter too much if you get the Runefang Steel on the gold, because that's actually a second base highlight. What you'll see on some videos is they use a very light steel to give gold a second highlight, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so I'm just going to do this with all the other models and then we'll be back. And here we have the guys with the shade all dry, so they're looking pretty tidy now. So the final thing to do is the base. Surprisingly enough, Fuel Grimnir has got the easiest base to do, as it doesn't seem to have any lava cracks in it. But what I will show you to do is, if you wanted to do it, is for the other three guys, you could paint in the cracks to make it look like molten lava coming through, but pretty much all the bases will be the same. So without further ado, let's go and get the paints that we need. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken the miniatures off their bases, and with Ceramite White, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these cracks here for our lava. So we want to get a nice bright coverage inside, and then that's where our lava's going to go. So I'm going to do this with all the bases, and then we'll be back with the next step. Once the white is dried, you want to get a glaze, a shade of some kind of yellow orangey colour. So here I'm using Casandora Yellow. It looks orange, but it will dry yellow. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to get my brush in, and again we're going to paint the white, except we're going to leave bits of white in the middle where it's deemed to be hottest. Okay, so let's see. I wonder if you can see that. Okay, so that's the shade going in. So we're not gonna paint all of it. We're gonna leave little spots of white in and around. And the thing with the shade is it will drip down nicely, and it will pull, which is actually what we want, because it will give us a different shade. So you know, you don't have to get all kinds of coverage, but I'm going to make it a bit heavier on certain bits there. Okay, I'm just going to quickly do this with all the bases. I've also got to the side, you can't see it yet, Bloodletter glaze, which is a red, and then I'm going to do a bit of that, and that should hopefully give us a nice transition between reds, oranges and yellows. This one here. No, if there isn't any white showing, it's not a problem. It's the wash is so thin it will appear white anyway, so that's looking pretty decent. We should take it up to the next level with just a like I said, a Bloodletter glaze. Let's zoom in, see if you guys can see what I'm doing. Doesn't really much on Grimnir's one. Just do a bit there. The first one. Now I've got my Bloodletter glaze. This one is a glaze. And I'm just gonna insert an edges. Again, you can be as liberal or stingy as you want because it's all kind of natural erraticness, so it's not too bad. This last one here. Okay, that'll do. We'll dry and then we'll see how that turned out. Okay, now that that's done, next thing we need to do is paint all the dirt around it. So with this, we're going to use Abbadon Black. And we're just going to paint all of this dirt around it. Here we've got a skull and a few little bits of gold symbols that you can see, which we'll paint in Retributor. But yeah, it's pretty much going to be black, and then Xandri dust for the skull here, and for this big old skull here that Grimnir is standing on. Also, I don't know if you could see the lava's dried now, and it's not too bad. It's quite orangey, so if you wanted to, and I might try this just for a bit of effect, just to make it a bit redder, I have got some Caribou Crimson that I might just dip in there whilst I'm doing the rest of the base. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to get our Abbadon Black, and we are just going to carefully paint all these stones and dirt here. That was a medium layer brush, but I'm going to go with a medium base there to get it done quicker. And then okay, now that we've applied all the Abbadon Black, Xandri dust and Retributor Armour, you can see the base is actually looking pretty good. I never ended up adding the Caribou Crimson because yeah, the lava came out really well. Once you added the black, it really adds to the contrast, so that was a nice easy way. And the great thing about doing this is you don't actually need to get the black all the way down the cracks. You kind of, if you leave it as is, you can get in a natural object source lighting coming up anyway. One thing I forgot to mention is when you're doing the base is you've got a couple of these guys who have got the one leg. They've got a like a bit of stone connected to their leg, so just you know, coat that in Abbadon Black whilst you're there. Right, now that that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to get Dawnstone, and we are going to dry brush all the black areas in Dawnstone. So let me get my small dry brush. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to wash the entire base with Agrax Earthshade. So that's what we're going to do. I've got a medium shade brush. And all I'm going to do is put a bit of my palette and take each one. Careful not to get the shade into where we've done the lava. We don't want that. And you don't want to hit the feet either, but you do want to hit the skulls, all of the stones that we've just dry brushed, and any of the gold that happens to be on any of the bases. Now that the shade is dry, the final step is to do a light dry brush over the whole base with Karak Stone, or if you don't have Karak Stone, you could use a Shabti Bone, some kind of light creamy stone colour, and to also do the final rim around the base. You can use whatever colour you want. I like using Rhinox Hide. I really like it, and it matches all my other war bands and my Age of Sigmar army, so that's what I'll do. So first thing we're going to do, just get a bit of Karak Stone, and then we're just going to lightly dry brush over the whole thing, ignoring the feet obviously, but you can get the skull. And with the base painted now, Fuel Grimnir is ready to go into the Mirrored City and reclaim the honour of his lodge. And there we have it. What I did whilst I had the guys off the bases, I noticed I could get a quick edge highlight with Evil Sunz Scarlett on all the red tabards that we did earlier. So I've just done that, and I've also reapplied a bit of the Gryph-Hound Orange on the hair as it worn away through the touch. It's very light, so I've reapplied that and quickly given it a coat of Munitorium Varnish spray. But that's about it. So that's it. All in all, painting time was just under 4 hours to get all these guys done. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.